good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you happen to be watching this. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. My name is Sam. Folks, the video we're going to be talking about today is how likely is it that AI or robots or even transhumans will play a part in end-time prophecy. So we're going to deep dive this topic because as we're moving towards the end of time, what we're seeing are prophecy in the Bible coming true. And one of the biggest is the push for globalism, because we all know you can't have a one world government or a one world religion without the entire world becoming one.
Crisis, which essentially set the world up to come together. Again, every nation, every neighborhood talking about one thing. I believe there's going to be more crises that'll hit the world as well. There'll be economic crises. There'll be this climate emergency thing that they're pushing right now. Those things are going to be used to bring people together under a one world globalist governance system.
And it is my belief that they will use either the pandemic or the environmental crisis or something along those lines to unite the world under one banner. And I think it's coming sooner than later. A few days ago, I came across a comment that somebody had made on another video talking about the book of Joel, located in the Old Testament of the Christian Bible. Now, folks, what they were talking about was her husband had been in the military, and he had been currently studying the book of Joel. And he became very concerned with the way that Joel describes the invading army in this chapter. Now, I'm going to read it to you. If you don't want to hear it, simply fast forward it, because we're going to deep dive into the wording of this afterwards. It says, chapter 2, verse 1, Joel, the book of Joel. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. For the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. So they're saying here that this army is going to be like nothing that has ever been seen or will be seen ever again. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burns. The land was once as a Garden of Eden before them, but once this army goes through it, folks, it becomes like a desolate wilderness, and nothing shall escape them. Now, it is popular belief, and many commentators have described this part of the chapter 2 talking about a horde of locusts. And that may have been because that is recorded, right? So let's keep going because this is going to get super interesting. We're on chapter 2, verse 4. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as a horseman, so they shall run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains, they shall leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face, the people shall be much pained. Other translations say much afraid, or their faces will become pale, okay? All faces shall gather blackness or concern. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one of his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. I'm going to stop there. The gentleman that had been in the army said this is where he became concerned. This is where he became concerned. So if you'd like to support Starkey Farmstead, since we were denied to be monetized again, the appeal denied again, I'm going to drop ways to do that, folks. We're going back to Maui in August, and we need you to row in our boat so that we have the money to pass out to the fire victims. Because when have you ever seen an army that did not break rank? Humans break rank. Whether that is they fall, they become afraid, they become disoriented, they get killed, but they break rank. It never stays a perfect line. He said, and I quote, "This concerns me because it's unnatural." So his concern, and the wife was writing her comment, was that the army that the Old Testament talks about is going to either be AI or robot, not just artificial intelligence, but like a robot or transhuman, folks. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they will not be wounded. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They will enter the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. That's how many there are going to be, okay? The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon will be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great, for he is strong, that executes his word, for the day of the Lord is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? Now, so the first part of chapter 2 is talking about God's wrath. So what I'm hearing commentators say is that this is God's army and that it is locust, all right? The Lord invites his people back, starting in chapter 2, verse 12. Therefore also now, saith the Lord, turn ye even to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mourning. And rend your heart and not your garment. And turn unto the Lord your God, for he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and repenteth of the evil. Who knoweth if he will return and repent, and leave a blessing behind him? Even a meat offering and a drink offering unto the Lord your God. Blow the trumpet in Zion, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly. Gather the people, sanctify the congregation. Assemble the elders, gather the children, and those that suck the breast, so breastfeeding children. Let the bridegroom go forth of his chamber, and the bride out of her closet. Let the priests, the ministers of the Lord, weep between the porch and the altar. Let them say, spare thy people, O Lord, and give not thine inheritance to reproach, that the heathen should rule over them. Wherefore should they say among the people, where is their God? So basically, this is an army, if not actually God's army, God is using as a tool to bring judgment. Ooh, it's getting hot out here. You guys can see me sweating. So that's what I'm taking this from. Now, I am not a pastor. I am anointed to teach. I want to know how you take this. If you have studied the book of Joel, what are we actually talking about here? Okay. Now, from what I'm understanding, this was the past. Now listen. Then the Lord will be jealous for his land and pity his people. The Lord will answer and say unto his people, behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil, and you shall be satisfied. Okay. I will remove far off from you the northern army.
Is what I just call a temple fever in Israel. I mean, there is such a fervor to rebuild the Jewish temple, and the volatility that is on that Temple Mount right now, Billy, that it's really not just the center of the world, it's the bullseye of the planet.
Now, this is where it gets good. Some commentators and pastors believe that this is the future, and the northern army he's talking about is Russia, because we all know Russia came down and went into the Ukraine. Why? Because they need a direct shot into Israel. And Ukraine is in their way. Okay? Fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for the Lord will do great things. Be not afraid, ye beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring, for the tree beareth her fruit, and the fig tree and vine do yield their strength. And I will restore to you the years the locust hath eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar, the palmer worm, my great army which I sent amongst you. And ye shall be in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of your God. It hath dwelt wondrously with you, and my people will never be ashamed. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men dream dreams. Young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. And I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be delivered. Folks, if you do not know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, I highly suggest you get on top of that. Now, let's keep going. Let's keep going. So I saw some commentary earlier that was talking about this may be an army that is going to come in the future. First off, if it's actually locust that they're discussing in this book of Joel, you would need about a year drought to cause the locust to be so destructive. So when you look at Africa, they go through droughts and then, torrential downpours of rain. But then they get hit by locusts quite often. And what happens, they've had a drought for a year or better. The ground dries up, the locusts come out, they eat everything. They climb through the windows, they crawl up the walls. They're like an invading army. And God has used locusts repeatedly in the Bible to bring his punishment, to destroy crops, to bring his children back into submission. But what he's talking about here in the second part of that, I believe that is now. Think about the Spirit being poured out upon people worldwide. We're seeing a renewal and a revival of the fire of God sweeping the nations, right? Because our time is precious and we're simply running out of it. You see the great northern armies coming down, coming against Israel, and she is due a judgment. We all know that. But when you're looking in the Bible at God's judgment, do you think the end time armies are going to be locusts, or are they going to be some form of transhuman, angelic, AI controlled beings, for lack of a better word? Because my thing is this. Here recently, there was a delegation discussing the advancement of AI in military, and they brought it before Congress. So far, Congress has actually written some legislation talking about controlling AI, but it has never quite gone all the way, folks. The military talked about it, and they said, look, there's nothing to worry about. If America uses AI in warfare, we're a Judeo-Christian country. No worries. We'll give it a conscience. But the point is, you cannot give it morals. You can't give it a conscience. What if it goes one way and becomes the Old Testament God and is killing babies and burning people alive and stoning them to death? Or what if it goes the opposite way, folks? And you've got AI that simply won't do anything to anybody because it says love thy neighbor. Folks, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, row with us. If you'd like to support what we do here, I did reapply to be monetized. They denied me. I appealed, they denied me again. So there's a second channel now started called Life with Sam in Louisiana. You're welcome to go join it. I'm gonna try to get that one monetized. But folks, we're going back to Maui. We need your support. I was really believing that if we got remonetized, the money that came in could go back to the fire victims. It didn't happen. I'm still going to give God the glory because I believe somebody sitting out there and the sound of my voice is going to make the difference up. So I'll drop ways to do that in comments. Please row with us. These topics need to be brought out. Too many Americans cannot articulate anymore. We can't sit. We can't listen. Everything's based on our feelings. And I tell you all the time, it doesn't matter how you feel. You can't base anything on your feelings, folks. You're going to be led wrong every time you do.
An antichrist on the planet. There'll be a global regime, and obviously they want to be able to trace, to track not just your economic transactions, but also you as well. So there could be some control issues as it relates to that. But what you said was so true, Billy, is that we are a society, a culture, a world that is professional emoters. We're really good at feelings, but we're not really good at reasoning, logic, thinking. The language is dying. People are not being educated today. So just having a rational conversation about anything without emotion being brought into it. So essentially AI could be, well, look, you go ahead and just keep emoting.
I love you guys with all my heart. Let's jump in this topic. Tell me what you think in comments. God bless you guys.
Genetic engineering relies on the discussed components. Genetic engineering is a field of biotechnology that involves manipulating the genetic material, DNA, of living organisms to achieve desired traits or outcomes. It's a powerful tool that allows scientists to modify, add, or remove specific genes in an organism's genome, enabling them to control traits and characteristics in ways that would not occur naturally through traditional breeding methods. Genetic engineering employs various techniques to manipulate DNA. The first example, recombinant DNA technology, involves combining DNA from different sources to create new genetic combinations. Scientists can isolate specific genes of interest, modify them if necessary, and insert them into the DNA of another organism. The second example, gene editing, uses editing tools such as CRISPR-Cas9, which allows precise modification of DNA at specific locations within the genome. CRISPR-Cas9 works like molecular scissors, enabling researchers to cut and edit DNA sequences with high accuracy. The third example, transgenic organisms, refers to those that have had genes from another species inserted into their genome. For example, genetically modified crops may contain genes that confer resistance to pests, herbicides, or environmental stressors. In medicine, genetic engineering holds promise for treating genetic disorders, developing vaccines, producing pharmaceuticals, such as insulin, and creating targeted therapies for diseases like cancer. Regarding environmental pollutants, genetic engineering can be used to design microorganisms capable of cleaning up environmental pollutants or toxins through a process called bioremediation. And concerning further research, genetic engineering is essential for studying gene function, elucidating disease mechanisms, and creating animal models for biomedical research. Highlighting the latter, due to genetic engineering, the production of animals has rapidly increased in the last 30 years, with the subject of cloning taking center stage.